Кодекса Российской Федерации назначить в виде смертной казни.
I'm nothing but an actor who's performed a role to earn an Oscar and to get into the Guinness Book of Records, that's all.
Oh, God, I'm hit. I'm hit. People are asking, are there more of them? Is this a trend? So we're trying to dig into that.
Get ready to meet some of the world's most notorious inmates. Andrei Chikatilo, a man from Ukraine, killed many people. He admitted to killing 56, but he was only tried for 53. In 1992, he was sentenced to death for 52 of those murders. Later, Russia's high court said there wasn't enough proof for 9 of them. Chikatilo was executed in February 1994. On November 14th, the police began watching Chikatilo. They saw him talking to young women and children, especially on buses or trains. If someone stopped talking to him, he would wait a bit and then try to talk to someone else. After 6 days, they saw him leave his house with a big jar of beer. He walked around town, trying to talk to kids he met. After he came out of a cafe, 4 undercover police officers arrested him. He didn't resist when they handcuffed him and took him away in an unmarked car. When they searched Chikatilo, they found a folding knife and 2 pieces of rope. They also took a blood sample from him. He was placed in a cell in the KGB building in Rostov with an informant who was secretly working with the police. This informant was supposed to get Chikatilo to say something incriminating. Isa Kostyev led the interrogation. The police planned to make Chikatilo think he was mentally ill and needed help. They wanted him to believe that if he confessed, he wouldn't be punished because of his supposed illness. The police knew they didn't have much direct evidence against Chikatilo, and according to Soviet law, they could only hold him for up to 10 days without charging him. Dr. Bukanovsky was brought in to help with the questioning. He read parts of his 65-page psychological profile of Chikatilo. After just 2 hours, Chikatilo started crying and admitted to Dr. Bukanovsky that he committed the crime. They talked for a while, and then Dr. Bukanovsky informed the department that Chikatilo was ready to confess. Have you ever heard about a boogeyman named Eyeball? Yes, it's a nickname for a notorious criminal. A man was called Eyeball because he got a tattoo that made the white part of his right eye darker. He admitted to shooting a police officer in Anchorage. Jason Barnum, who was 30 years old, admitted to trying to kill the officer, breaking into a place, and having a weapon when he wasn't supposed to. Barnum faced 33 criminal charges after he shot a police officer in Anchorage. Jason Barnum was sentenced to 22 years in jail. The shooting took place while police were investigating burglaries and car thefts. It happened at a hotel in 2012. Barnum started shooting from a bathroom while officers were checking the place. 2 officers fired back and hit Barnum in the arm. 1 officer was injured.
Oh, God, I'm hit. I'm hit.
Later, Barnum admitted that he was stealing and breaking into homes because he needed money for heroin. During the court session, Chief Mark Mew from the Anchorage Police Department argued for a harsh punishment. He stated that he believed Jason Barnum had long ago decided to be hostile towards people. In court, everyone also noticed the tattoos of skulls all over Barnum's head. Chief Mew urged everyone to look at Barnum, asserting that while Barnum could choose his appearance, they couldn't punish him for it, but it did reflect his attitude and actions. Technically, he was right. It does reflect a person's behavior. Barnum tried to justify his actions by partly blaming the Alaska Department of Corrections. He claimed that he was released from prison in 2010 without a place to stay or anything to occupy him. He was homeless and attempted to find work, but his appearance didn't help. Judge Jack Smith in Anchorage asserted that it was Barnum's fault, regardless of whether the system had failed him or drugs had affected his behavior. However, this time, the punishment included parole, which was intended to provide him with more support when he was released in his mid-50s. In the hope of bringing justice to all victims, please remember to subscribe to the channel before we move on to the next case. Get ready for a wild ride into the daring and dangerous life of Charles Bronson, a British criminal whose existence was a whirlwind of chaos behind bars. From secure psychiatric hospitals like Rampton and Broadmoor to the notorious Ashworth, Bronson's story is a roller coaster of adrenaline-fueled antics and jaw-dropping escapades. Charles Bronson was born in Luton, Bedfordshire, one of 3 sons to Ira and John G. Peterson. His father later managed the Conservative Club in Aberystwyth, while his uncle and aunt served as mayors of Luton in the 1960s and 1970s. Bronson lived in Luton until the age of 4, but during his teenage years, his family relocated to Ellesmere Port, Cheshire, where he began to engage in troublesome behavior. At the age of 13, he was involved in a group of 4 thieves and encountered legal trouble in juvenile court after being apprehended for theft. With a penchant for fighting and frequently skipping school, Bronson's rebellious streak emerged early in life. He also had a job moving furniture, but he often got into fights when he was out. After being involved in some small crimes, he got into big trouble for crashing a stolen truck into a car. The police found him at his parents' house, far from the crash. The person in the car survived, so Bronson didn't get a really tough punishment, just some fines and probation. After his trial, he went back to doing small crimes and simple jobs. When he was 19, Bronson took part in a robbery. The judge didn't send him to jail, but warned him instead. But that wasn't the end of the story. In 1974, when he was 22 years old, Bronson was found guilty of armed robbery and was given a 7-year prison sentence. He was sent to Walton Prison, where he got into trouble for attacking 2 other prisoners for no reason. As a result, he was moved to Hull Prison in 1975. There, he caused more problems by refusing to do any work and destroying a workshop after an argument with a prison officer. It got him into more trouble, and he was given 6 extra months in prison after being given a medicine that made him very sick. Even after he felt better, he still caused trouble and was punished by being kept in a small room alone for many months. He also hurt another prisoner, John Henry Gallagher, by hitting him with a glass jug. He was charged with seriously injuring him, but later the charges were reduced to a lesser crime and he was found guilty. This added 9 more months to his sentence. After that, he was moved to Armley Prison. He also tried to make the person in the cell next to him sick at Wandsworth. Then, in 1976, he was moved to Parkhurst Prison, where he became friends with the Cray twins, whom he liked. But then, he got sent back to Wandsworth because he threatened to hurt a prison officer. He spent 4 months alone after he was caught trying to dig his way out of his cell. The boss at Wandsworth wanted him out, and only the C Unit or psychiatric wing at Parkhurst would take him. He went back to the Isle of Wight and hurt another prisoner with a jam jar, which got him in trouble again. He tried to hurt himself and another officer, so they made him move because of his mental health.